Jai Hind, welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. So, Khalistan, the project, and the narrative of Khalistan is something that we're going to discuss today. I know a lot of you have been asking me to kind of look at this particular thing and see what I can do about it in terms of understanding the narrative. Now, what I'm going to do is set a certain ground rule for this discussion. This discussion will be based on the narrative of Khalistan. We'll try and understand what happened in the past, in the interim history, and of course, the current narrative which is being played in front of us. Where did the current narrative start? How did it start? What really happened? Who are the parts of this current narrative? There are loads of things that need to be found out, and there are loads of things yet need to be investigated. As we know, the NIA is on the job and actually doing a lot of raids and a lot of investigations as we speak. So, complete picture may not come out of this, but we will see what all are the actions that have been taken. We'll talk about all that and a little more. But before that, guys, I'd like to request all of you, please like this video so that it reaches maximum amount of people. Share this with your friends. And of course, if you can, do help out the Dev Talks efforts by contributing on to us within super stickers. You can join us as a member, or you can send it directly to me on the UPI mentioned below. Now, I'm going to begin this. Of course, as usual, I have some slides ready for you, which I will put up on the screen. And let me just say this once again. This is a study of the Khalistan narrative. A lot of us might want to talk about politics, which is domestic Indian politics today. Let me say this at the outset. The politics in the country today is also useful for this narrative. It may not be the creator of the narrative. We need to understand what is the creator. Because when you're talking about a narrative is like a disease, right, which gives out certain symptoms. Symptoms, for example, my sore throat, as all of you might just realize by now. What is the reason of that sore throat is the issue. We can deal with a little bit of sore throat by having a cough medicine or something, but that's not going to get rid of the disease. The narrative comes from the base of the disease, and that is something that we need to understand. Right, let's get into it. I'll put up the slides and we begin. The current phase. Now, before we talk about the current phase, I want to get into a little bit of the history. Right? Why I want to talk about the history is because a lot of our discussions and the current scenarios that we are sitting in need to be discussed with a historical angle. We in India forget that history plays a huge part in terms of what is happening today. Right? So let's get into it. Element of separation was added by the British. This is no, um, secret. The British realized, especially around, the 1857, and when they look back at the history of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, they said if this community stays in the way it is, joined with the Hindus, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem controlling this region, especially after the 1857 revolt that happened. The British started employing a lot of Punjabi Sikh soldiers into their army. So they basically slow and steady influenced the thought process within that region. Now, how did they do that? We all know about the divide and rule policy, right? This is something that I think a lot of us would have read about, spoken about, heard about. The divide and rule policy was basically implemented with a way of doing census. Now, you'd say census is a harmless activity. Why would you look at it like that? With a census, what you can do is you can do community wise breakup census where you realize how many people of a particular religion, faith, following are there in a particular area. When you do that, you can separate those communities out by creating those communities with a certain leader. When you put a fault between the leaders, that's what breaks communities. That's exactly what was done. Now, in the census of 1891, why have I mentioned this? Is because I wanted to put across certain facts. Now, with my research, which I've been doing for a little bit, I realized that during this census, about 20 lakh Muslims based in Gujarat voted themselves in as Hindu Muslims, and the spelling at that time was HINDOO, DOO. And about 2 or 5 lakh Sikhs voted themselves as Hindu Sikhs. Now, I'm not talking about the Hindu religion. Understand this very clearly. During those times, anybody staying on the other side of the Indus from the Persian angle was called a Hindu, right? It was Hindustan. So, Hindus of Hindustan. It was not really the Hindu Dharma as per se. Because the Hindu Dharma, the word has come out very recently. There's a notorious book that was written by a person called Khan Singh Nabha in 1898. And this was propagated by the British quite a bit. Notorious book. I've read it. You should, if you want to dig deep into this, you can actually get into it. A lot of the Sikh scholars today are talking about this book and the damage this book did. It was titled Hum Hindu Nahi Hai. Now, when we look at it from the British angle, and I'm not going to be, trying to justify what they did, but I'm just trying to understand why they did what they did. They realized that religious values in India were fluid, right? People used to do everything, no matter what religious background they came from. There was an amalgamation, right? People were pretty much peaceful and with calm with each other, and that's how India has been for a long time. They could not understand how could two different religions intermingle in that particular way without a book telling them what to do. Because you look at it from the European angle, they were Christians who follow the book. They could not figure this out. How could Indians be doing this? Right? So they wrote the history as per the book. Now there are so many books in India. They picked up one or the other and matched their values within the history. That is why you see, and if you read history about the Sikhs, history about the Hindus of the 17, 1800s, you will realize the Britishers are trying to match history as per their understanding, not as per what's happening within the country. 1905, the First World War happened. A lot of Sikhs went into the army, and then the terrible Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened. The British realized that this community is going to stand up once again, and they had to control the power center. Now, in the Sikhs and in Punjab at that time, the power center were the Gurdwaras. So they were able to swindle their way through and create a head committee that would govern the Gurdwaras, which was the Shivamani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, or the SGPC, 1925. Shivamani Akali Dal is the mother of the organization that was formed in 1920, which is known as SAD today. And this is said by the Jetedar of today of the Akal Takht. So this is quite understood. Now, funnily speaking, these committees that was created, the SGPC was controlled by the DM Amritsar, District Magistrate Amritsar. So they set it up like a democratic thing. Later on, of course, the British swindled through and threw these guys out and did what they did. It was the same guys who ordered the 1919 massacre, by the way. So that's how they twisted us, right? So you can see the breaks that they were trying to put in the middle of the game. Now I want to talk about the word Khalistan. A lot of people, say that it's come from Guru Gobind Singh's time and stuff like that. It was Khalsa. It was never Khalistan. Khalistan was a word that was coined by a poet in 1940 by the name of Dr. Veer Singh Bhatti, who ironically actually used it to counter the Muslim demand for the creation of Pakistan. So it was not to do with anything else. They said, this was a counter, it was a poem. Sikhs, of course, fought in a large number in the Second World War. And during the time of partition, one of the mysteries which I personally feel, and it's not something anything else, Kartarpur Sahib, which is a few kilometers from the main border, could have been included in the Indian Punjab, which was a Sikh area. It was not done. Now, there's another Gurdwara which is across Lahore, which is called the Nankana Singh, these are very important Gurdwaras. That's still further. But Kartarpur Sahib was just there. So that's, I think, a mistake of history. British did that purposely or not, I'm not going to comment on it at the moment. Now, post independence, the Akalis realized that they wanted to create a Punjabi speaking state within, the area that they had. Now, remember, the Punjab map today is not the same what it was at that time. So they fought for that, and in 1966, they got a Punjab Reorganizational Act where Himachal, Punjab, and Haryana came out. They found a lot of issues with that too, because there was water sharing treaties that happened, and Chandigarh was given as a common um, capital for Haryana and Punjab, so they had a little bit of a challenge with that as well. Now, those were the days when the SAD was pretty strong. Popularly, we understand that the narrative of Khalistan came across post the 1971 war, right? Pakistanis kind of propagated this, the K2 policy, as it's called. We've heard Tariq Fateh talking about, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, uh, talking about the factor that uh, we will create another Bangladesh for, India and stuff like that in the north. But we have to go back a little bit to understand where this damn thing came from. There's a guy called Devendra Singh Parmar who left India in 1954. He's known as the architect of the modern Khalistan movement. I don't know what is the older Khalistan movement, but that's what the narrative is. In 1970 in Birmingham, he raised the Khalistani flag for the first time. 1970. A defeated, SAD is Shivani Akali Dal politician. Jasjeet Singh Chauhan also joined him at that time. Just after that, as a matter of fact. And they both got together and did a press conference in London and announced the struggle for Khalistan. Okay. Now, in 1971, Chauhan visited New York and placed a big, huge ad in the New York Times, by the way. Note, declaring an independent Sikh state of Khalistan. Following the end of the war, which was 1971 war, India-Pakistan, Chauhan actually went to Pakistan and sought he met the leaders and stuff like that. He met the army chief, the ISI guys and everything. And he asked for support. Because he realized now Zulfikar had said this, so kuch to ho sakta hai yahan par. 1977 में Bindranwale. Now here's the entry of this man. Was made the 14th head of the Damdami Taksal, the 300-year-old Sikh institutional, which is located close to Mehta Chowk. Mehta Chowk is a place close to Amritsar. Funnily speaking, he was propagated for political reasons into limelight, right? These are bad political moves. Now, I'm not going to get into who did what, this and that. We all know that history. So there's no point me repeating all that. Bad political moves, ulterior motives. Who got harmed? The people. In the 1980s, if you go back and see, all we noted was Pakistani sponsored hijackings. Every year, one or two, it was pretty bad. And the modus operandi was quite uh, uh, interesting, because they would kind of take off, they would land in Pakistan, ask for this or that and the other. And there were instances where these guys just walked out of the airport. It was that bad. Now, of course, during this time in the 80s, Bindranwale is, setting up and arming up the Golden Temple. Again, there's a whole history behind that. I'm just running you through. I'm just trying to give you a background, right? I'm not discussing the history. The history is really long. The arming happened. Now, I have loads of questions why this was allowed to happen, right? Because there was no direct way. They were taking it in from the front gate. It was allowed to happen. Why? God knows. People were sleeping or what it was terrible. Then, of course, the Operation Blue Star came in. We know the history of that. General Barar, led by General Vaidya, and all these guys, army officers were blamed by the community, by, this thing, when the orders were, of course, given by the government. And the government is at the end of it in charge. Now, again, I'm not getting into who was in charge, this, that, and the other. Let's just understand the history. It all kind of blends up. Indira Gandhi's death happened, and the shameful, and let me say this very clearly, the terrible Delhi Sikh riots. And the terrible part about our system is that the perpetrators are still free. Now, whose fault is that? Again, out of the discussion, this is a fact. Some time ago on the WhatsApp group, a lot of people started claiming that, Sikh soldiers were shot and that's all bump. 2,800 Sikh troops, they were involved in incidents of insubordination and things like that. The army reached out to most of them, actually all of them. 2,300 deserters were taken back into the army. 450 were discharged, 277 were put in civil jails, 234 was released within 3 years. And this is a report that was tabled in the parliament in 1990. Right? So I've just taken an excerpt out of that. Now, after all that, 1985, the Rajiv Longowal Accord was signed to calm things down. It had just gone a little too far, calm things down within the state. And incidentally, Longowal was shot and killed just a few days after this accord was signed. Now, in 1986, again, Operation Black Thunder happened, right? Ajit Doval's name is there during these two operations, 86, 88. 200 militants that were occupying that place were removed. 88, Black Thunder 2 happened again, surrender of 200 militants. And it was a very precise operation. A lot of people say that. Very little damage, and 43 of these militants were killed. 80s was a time of militancy within Punjab. It was terrible, right? A lot of work with the police, with the people. And let me say this very clearly, the police, security forces, the army, a whole lot of people worked. But it was the people who got it under control. At the end of it, this stuff can only be fought with the people. Right? And I'm saying this because you'll get to know when I'm coming towards the end of my presentation. By 94, things became normal. People started, there were instances of violence here and there and stuff like that, but, there were instances of violence, but this thing kind of calmed down. Now, I was personally studying in Punjab in those days. Uh, it was interesting times. I mean, I've seen Punjab where we had to go to school with guards and things like that. And to a Punjab where we could go out in the night and sit in dhabas late night, no problem, and this and that. So it improved really fast. People settled down, agriculturally rich state, and money started coming in. People are very hardworking and sincere. There's no question about that. From then till now, of course, there were people, and I'll talk about these people when I go forward. The biggest incident that we saw was the farmers' protest. And I call it a protest hijacked. Some people did want to protest about it. Fair enough. It's a free country. And again, I'm not going to get into that. But this was hijacked. This is something that has been discussed on my show by 2, 3 people. The Pakistani plan of death to India by 1,000 cuts was converted to death to India by 1,000 protests. A lot of us still don't like the fact that there are these protests happening. Right? So we need to understand that. These protests are organic, right? A lot of people, you know, are pissed off about certain things, and I have no problems with protesting, but I have a problem when they get, you know, into it. I'm gonna take a second to take this comment. Indapalji, Sat Sri Akal. Adi bhai, good evening. I'm a Sikh by religion. Only thing I have to say, all these Khalistanis and their supporters are bloody hypocrites. Well, sir, I'm just trying to break it down with history and show you. I'm from also that region, and it hurts me when stuff like this happens. Anyways, let's get back to this. This particular thing was used to reignite a lot of flames that were calmed. Republic Day happened. There were killings on the protest site. Funnily speaking, suddenly incidents of sacrilege and provocation happened. If you notice now, there have been no incidents of sacrilege that have happened after the protest. And of course, there was open international support to this cause. Who were the main characters? Now, I'm not saying he's the number one character, number two is just, I just put them across, okay? So please don't take it like he was the main this thing. I don't have any proof of that. But this is the study that I've done. He's interesting because his organization that he created in September 2021, Varis, Varis Punjab Day, is under news today as well. And we'll talk about that. He was a lawyer, film shims, this and that, went viral on social media because of this agitation. He was accused of being the key conspirator behind the Republic Day violence. He died in a car crash in 2022 February. Again, a bit controversial. And this is one of his Facebook pages, which says, we hosted the Nishan Sahib on Red Fort while exercising a democratic right to protest. Again, a political post, but just to understand. Excuse me. The main character again is Lakha Siddhana. He was very close to Deep Sidhu. He was a gangster turned activist involved in the Mohali RPG attack. Apart from that, hundreds of cases. You know, gangster, you know what I'm talking about. And he was a political gangster. So, you know, Mo Dhaliwal, the international factor, he was the marketing guy who sold this game. Poetic Justice Foundation, we remember. We also remember the toolkit by this young lady who probably doesn't know where India sits on a map, but anyways. And he said, you know, he put up a post and he's pretty much still active. This is what he said on Facebook on the 17th of September 2020. This was a time when the protest was just starting, right? This is the post. I'm a Khalistani. You might not know about this. Why? Because Khalistan is an idea, living, breathing movement. He also speaks about in the third paragraph. Now, Terry Milwilski and McDonald Laurier Institute has produced a document which has a racist bent. Now, this particular document I'll talk about, this was a paper that was released in Canada, which said that Khalistanis are the biggest threat to Canada's security. And when we go to Canada, we'll talk about that. This guy, Gurpawan Singh Pannu, Sikhs for Justice. Incidentally, he was arrested by the police in United Kingdom in 2000 after receiving terrorist training in Pakistan. And he was sentenced for 30 months. He was involved with this Babbar Khalsa International Movement. Movement, it's a, group. He said, then he put out these letters, during the China standoff saying, Bhaiya, I stand with China and all that. He wrote to the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan swearing, India ever attacked the pro-Khalistani Sikhs will extend support to Pakistan. He has a wish. Intelligence officials have also said that websites have their domain shared from source content from a Karachi-based website. He has open contacts with Pakistan. There's no question about it. Now, funnily speaking, these guys talk about Sikhs and this and that. None of them actually wear a pagdi or none of them follow the so-called religious teachings. And anyways, Anyway, enemies of the state. Now, I say this in the context of Khalistan. These are the people that I have been able to kind of find the old horses and the new kids on the block. Uh, these are the guys that are kind of doing. A lot of them are based in Pakistan. A lot of them are based in UK and Canada. So there's this whole thing, and that is the reason why India finds it kind of difficult to deal with it when it's multinational. You know, if it's based in Pakistan, there are ways to figure it out. But if it's multinational, then it becomes, and you guys know Europe and the freedom loving society Europe has. So that's what the game here is. Now, how was this protest infiltrated? Of course, the physical infiltration is one thing, but how you create a narrative is more online today. That's what I'm talking about. So, this is going to be interesting, guys. Stay tuned here. There's a security firm called Infio. It analyzed social media posts between October and November and showed more than 11,000 posts were generated to propagate fake news, radicalize youth, and creating a little bit of a discord. Hundreds of accounts would appear, tweet on the same day, same time, create a buzz, create those Twitter trends, and back down again. What was happening on the border there in Delhi border was different, and there was another Twitter war that was taking place. So this war was being fought online. That's where you create an international movement. The online agenda was, used further to stance this seek for justice. This bugger used to create a video pretty much every day. I mean, all that stuff used to happen. And he gave youths offered $125,000 raising flags on the parliament on the November 26th, 29th. So after that, they said, nahi, nahi, abhi, oh, yeah. And he claims that he's given money to some guy for doing what he did on the Republic Day. Anyways, I have no ways to proving that. Now, these are some intelligence sources which says that Punjabi, this actor Deep Sidhu and Lakha Sidana were in touch with Pannu. Toolkit was very, very important. Now, the foolish climate activist tweeted the entire thing out, tweet this, that, and the other, and the entire thing got bajawed. Otherwise, nobody had ever heard of something called a toolkit. So it actually brought out some very interesting factors from there also. A lot of people came from abroad, tractors were bought, this was bought, that was bought, all of that just vanished. When the game finished, it just went out of thin air. Imagine the kind of forex that would have come to India. Eh? Just jokes apart. The amount of forex that would have come for this from outside. Where did that funding come from? It came from abroad. It came from Hawala sources. It came from Pakistan, and of course, a lot of local collections. People who were genuinely protesting for this. They didn't know where the money is going to get used. Who all had hijacked the entire thing? They were provocations, sacrilege. Ludhiana High Court blast, 23rd December 21, just months before the election. RPG attack in Mohali, 10th May 2022. We know drones have been coming inside, so weapons are coming in. That means there's a stockpile of weapons which is coming out with a lot of things. Names are being painted here, there, in the other. They'll put this flag here, they'll put that flag here. Multiple incidents have happened. And remember this, when you see this kind of stuff, it's not anything else but to irritate you. If this name painting did not become a news, they won't do it. What they want is media attention. The more we talk about it, the more they will do because it irritates you. It's a stupid little thing, but yeah, fair enough. Sacrilege incidents happened during this protest. Nothing has come out of it. One poor chap was actually lynched. But these incidents happened during that time. And it was, oh, yeah. We didn't realize this was all part of the game. Ludhiana High Court blast, December 23, a synchronized cyber campaign, and hear me out, this is going to be very interesting, was carried out by Sikh radical groups supported by the Pakistani ISI. Twitter war began on the December 16th, which is celebrated as Victory Day in Bangladesh to commemorate the victory over Pakistan. They got burnt, so they started this on the same day. Responsibility of this campaign was handed over to a group named Mohabbat Mafia, which became active on the December 15th using an account named Shafakat Chaudhary, tweeting with the hashtag Dhaka to Khalistan. He said, time is turning around. Dhaka 1971 is going to repeat itself on the other side to Khalistan and a lot other separate states. He's got some dreams again, but anyways. Int agencies have also said there was a letter written by Gurpawan Singh Pannu to the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan asking for support for this towards the cause of fall of Delhi, just like the fall of Dhaka. We've also been able to trace out technological tools that were given to, and who were the guys who were doing this. And when these tweets were dug out by the security firm and a lot many other people, they realized that these were supporters of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. So what's happening here? The PTI was given a certain amount of leverage in terms of doing its Twitter game by the ISI. They set up this Twitter army for Imran Khan. It was called Imran Khan Cyber Army. Like the Chinese have this 20-cent army. I think Pakistanis were getting 2 cents. But that's what it was. And the kind of attack that they were able to do was a coordinated attack. And one thing I want to ask, Imran Khan's or cyber army or something like that, is it for rent? Just kidding, but you can imagine they coordinated this entire thing. There were websites created called the Trolley Times, AskIndiaWhy.com. AskIndiaWhy.com is seldom updated, by the way. Naya Pakistan Group and Naya Pakistan International had a lot of links with these things. They had 20 YouTube channels that were banned by the government of India in December. The total subscriber base of 35 lakh people. And SFJ, Pannu, I was telling you, is very, very famous for his videos. Some of the examples I've given here, this I had taken a screenshot of a long time back. You can't access these accounts anymore. Of course, there are people inside who wants to instigate for their own political gain again. And let me say this. This is a game of politics where people are getting crushed, nothing else. 30th October 2022, controversy erupted when the current Jethedar Akal Takht Sahib picture emerged with Ravinder Singh Pinka, a ISI-backed hijacker, when he was in Punjab, in Pakistan. You know, they have to go around and see these things and celebrate wherever festivals and this and that. This was the 100th anniversary of the Saka Panja Sahib. This is the picture. And this is the tweet that was put out by the SGPC. When the controversy erupted, they deleted the tweet, but of course, screenshots, आजकल तो सब कुछ ही हो जाता है एकदम से. 2012, the kin of Harinder Singh Jinda and Sukhdev Singh Sukha, who were hanged in Pune in October 9, 1992, 6 years after the assassination of General Baidia. As I said, a lot of the army guys were blamed. Were honored by the manager of Darbar Sahib, SGPC Secretary Dalmegh Singh. And the demands today that we see are to put these pictures of these people and Bindranwale and everybody on Gurdwaras, In Pakistan, by the way, they do that in certain places. They did that during the Kartarpur Sahib game. Take a look at this. This guy was one of the hijackers. Now, I'm not sure whether the Jetedar even knew whether this is going to happen. Pakistanis are funny for this, and let's continue with this. We'll talk about the Kartarpur Sahib, and I'll tell you how that place is going to be used. So I don't think the Jetedarji knew this is going to happen, but this is the game. The Pakistan connection. Pakistan is using Kartarpur Sahib for what? To build contacts. When you register there, they get database, contact numbers, addresses, passport copies, and then we say our bank account was hacked. Propaganda, smuggling, giving illegal money, black money transactions, Hawala transactions. Pakistan's official video featured 3 Khalistani separatists, including Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. There is a bomb which is kept there, by the way, and it's funnily Indian Air Force never did that. So they brought this bomb. It's an unexploded bomb, and they keep it on a pillar and says Indian Air Force dropped this bomb during 1971 war at the Gurdwara. It's just to. And funnily speaking, people who go there, none of them believe a word of what the Pakistanis say, but they do this. It's part of a narrative, right? Former Pakistani Army Chief General Mirza Alam Beg has been quoted to say Pakistani Army and the government should create trouble for India through the Khalistan movement. It's the only way to teach India a lesson. Khalistan Liberation Force Lakbir Singh Rode, he's been involved with the smuggling of ammunition and drones and drugs. We know that's happening quite often. But then we need to also understand that the drones and drugs and all that are starting to get caught. Recently, a news came in when the BSF actually awarded a couple of their companies a lakh of rupees for shooting down drones. So they're not standing going da 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 da. There's obviously some technology which has come in. Khalistan General Secretary of Punjab Sikh Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, Gopal Singh Chawla, had an anti-India protest in Nankana Sahib. And he's known to be very close with Hafiz Saeed. They all get these guys together and put them close to Kartarpur Sahib. Recently, I'm sorry I didn't put this up. The new CEO of the Kartarpur Sahib area is a ex-former ISI officer. I forget his name. Guys, anyone, please just Google it and put his name out. So they're going to use this, right? In September, a photograph of the alleged hijacker Dhal Khalsa chief Gajendra Singh was mistakenly released on Facebook, telling us where he was. There he is, on the bottom right picture. Right? So all these things have been happening. Sikh Youth Foundation, whole lot of organizations that have been created, which exist in Canada, UK, US, Australia. The first ones that we will talk about is Canada. The 2018 public report on terrorism threat to Canada officially cited, and I was telling you this before, Khalistani extremists, ideologies, and movements. This name was changed, by the way, later on. you know. And Canadian MP and New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal. Now he's the main character in Canada. He has some 24 MPs who's supporting Trudeau's government. So it's politics. Again, politics. And who suffers? The guy on the ground. You think these guys are bothered? They run their narratives. It doesn't cost them anything. September 2020, a MacDonald Laurier Institute think tank in Ottawa had released this report called Khalistan, a project of Pakistan. It's a beautiful report. Canadian journalist Terry Milski, fantastic report, must read. It's there online, it's free for all. You can actually just read it. It's very well written. Canada is known for these referendums that keeps happening. And of course, you got this Pannu character and these nut loose people that are running around there. They do what they want to. And politically, you can't do much because Jagmeet Singh is standing there. Officially, Canada says we don't recognize all this. UK, where the first declaration happened, again, Sikh diaspora. Here, there's a guy called Tamanjeet Singh Desi, who's the Labour Party MP from Slough. And there's also another lady called Labour MP Preet Kaur Gill. She demanded, Khalistan by tweeting, the principle of self-determination is prominently embroidered in the Article 1 of the Charter of the United Nations. Indian agencies have been lately analyzing all this stuff. Now, the main thing I want to ask this woman is, where is all this stuff? And the Scottish asked for a referendum, but anyways, that narrative does not work. You see, will not cover that. Analysis of this population of this city called Slough was 23.3% Muslim, Sikhs 10.6%, and total population as compared to a meager 1.1% Hindus, and so on and so forth. The Muslim population is dominated by Muslims from Pakistan. 17% of the total population. It's nothing but domestic politics. And remember this, even in India, a lot of you may say, oh, boy, this guy did that, this guy did that, this guy did that. They're all useful idiots, if I may say that. They are all being used for a purpose. And that is the game. Australia has some stupid referendum on the 29th, waste of time. By the way, when I put Australia referendum and try and see how many searches are happening, it's pathetically low. Posters are coming up, Australia keeps putting up these posters, but people go and tear it up. So there's the other side. We see the news in our news media about talking about these posters coming up, but when has Indian news media covered the factor that people have torn them up as well? Canada, UK, Australia, all three places this has happened. But our media will not cover it because it does not make news. It's all a narrative, guys. The current guy, Amrit Pal Singh, he came in from Dubai. He had this transport business. His father was an old follower of the Damdami Taksal, which I've told you. He came in and took charge of this Varis Punjab Day. Funnily speaking, the family says, we've not given this guy anything. How has he taken over this organization? Which his brother, Deep Sidhu's brother, says that my family never made Amrit Pal Singh head of Varis Punjab Day. Now, interestingly, Shivmani Akali Dal is another classic bunch of people who've not got out of their British brainwashing. They might not have, but they barely win seats. Yeah? They win like 3 seats in the election. So it's the Punjab government has declared that those who talk about Khalistan will have to face inquiry. But I would like to inform the AAP leaders that raising demand for Khalistan is no crime. We can write about Khalistan hold meetings and talk about it without any fear. The foundation of Khalistan will be laid soon. These guys will, again, what did I say? Useful idiots. Just take them like that. In certain interviews, Amrit Pal Singh has said that he's not very well read about the scriptures and he doesn't know, the Gurbani and this and that. Funnily speaking, today, how you gain popularity is if you just start attacking the government today. Just start attacking. MP, oh, yaar, ye bada smart hai. So whenever he gets caught, oh, ye government हमारे साथ ये कर रही है, वो कर रही है, farmers law, ये वो this that, he will start off. And that's the biggest evidence of a flawed, hollow narrative. Look at the guy. He's impersonating someone. I mean, come on. Get your own identity. Leaving that apart. Sloganeering will happen. Jhande leke ghumenge. They'll paint this, paint that. It's all a narrative building exercise. Of course, he gives the same message. He says, drugs chhod do, pop culture chhod do, Western culture chhod do, Sikhi mein vishwas karo, and this and that and the other. So publicly he speaks what he speaks, but then there are other things. November 4th, Sandeep Singh, Sunny, who shot that Indian, Shiv Sena leader, Sudhir Suri, he was photographed with this gentleman. I mean, he was blessing his son for some ceremony or something like that was happening. Amrit Pal Singh was blessing Sunny's son. They got people together to throw flower petals when this guy Sandeep Singh came out of jail or whatever, bail or whatever. Now again, I'm saying Amrit Pal Singh says, be it with farm laws, water crisis, drug menace, migration from UP, Bihar, political dissidents, arrest, this, that, and the other. It's all same silent genocide. ये एक ही ना human rights words have been taught to everybody. You think a guy from Punjab will be talking about all this stuff? No. This is again training. Remember all this stuff because it's all part of the narrative. We can fight the people. And I'll tell you this, the Indian action. This is where I'm going to come to you. The 1st of, October 2018, the government of India initiated steps to ban the KLF, Khalistan Liberation Front, UAPA and this and that. 2020, December 7th, Special Cell nabbed Gurjeet Singh and Sukhdeep Singh. They were hired by gangster Sukh Bikariwal to murder Balwinder Singh Sandhu. By the way, Balwinder Singh Sandhu is a Shaurya Chakra winner. February 8th, 2021, they were following a tip from Jagroop Singh, another gangster that was arrested the previous day. The team discovered Chinese pistols. You all know I am smiling. This is what will happen if we don't understand the narrative. We get swooped up in these stupid discussions about isne ye kar diya, usne wo kar diya, while these guys are going ahead and doing what they need to do at the back end. Jagdev Singh Bagga, who was traveling from Lakhimpur, Uttar Pradesh to Lucknow, was caught by counterintelligence. Another Punjab police team arrested the gangster Gupinder Singh, Nanded in Maharashtra. Now, these are all guys that are connected to various drugs, this, that, all that network within Punjab. Khalistan Tiger Force, they busted this thing apart. And this force was planning big time political assassinations. Paramjit Singh Pamma, You remember the sheet I'd shown you with the guys' mugshots? Babbar Khalsa. Babbar Khalsa is again what got Pannu into jail. Now, Bikariwal was deported from Dubai this January and brought into India and arrested. Pamma and Rode are amongst the nine notorious Khalistan guys who are operating out of five countries. And I showed you that list, who all they are. There are multiple other peoples. Khalistan Commando Force guy was based in Lahore. He met up with this Gurpawan Singh Pannu. A lot of extradition stuff is on. I've given one example here. So Kuldeep Singh from the UK, he was plotting to kill Prakash Singh Badal and his son Sukhbir Singh Badal. NIA arrested, mastermind of the Taran bomb blast, Bikramjeet Singh from Austria. He was brought in. You know, the last paragraph I'm going to read word to word, and you'll understand why. Recently, the Union Minister of State of Home Affairs, G. Krishna Reddy, had said that the KLF was involved in grenade attacks at the prayer hall in Adiwal village, Amritsar, on 18 November. He also claimed during the investigation, International Sikh Youth Foundation was also found to be involved in the blast. The blast claimed 3 lives, left 16 injured. However, the Punjab police have arrested 3 perpetrators responsible for this blast. So these little organizations that you keep seeing, they will because of the influx of all these weapons and stuff like that is coming in, they'll be able to keep these incidents happening. Harpreet Singh, behind the Ludhiana court blast, 23rd December 2021, arrested from the airport in Delhi. Lawrence Bishnoi was also involved in this. And then Kulvinder Jeet Singh, sorry, I'm very bad throat. Kanpuria, he arrived from Bangkok, he was caught. I don't know why he came here, but he was caught. A lot of these arrests have been happening. Now, funnily speaking, a gangster turned terrorist, Harvinder Singh Sandhu, alias Rinda, as I said, Rinda, remember the name. He died in Lahore in a military hospital due to a drug overdose. I'm not saying anything. September 28th, Canada based Lakhbir Singh Ladda was arrested from Bihar for involving in many crimes and this and that. He gave, see, when you arrest a big guy, he gives the niche wale sare fir phas jate hain. ISI backs Khalistan Tiger Force module was operated by Canada based terrorist Ashdeep Singh Ashdallah. A lot of these guys based in Canada and Lahore, by the way. Sidhu Moosewala's murder that was masterminded by Goldie Brar has been detained in Canada. Now we are talking about an extradition. So again, in the past 5-6 days, again there have been a lot of news which are coming to us. I don't want to put all of them because they're just it'll be 4-5 slides. I've already gone on 53 minutes. I told you guys it's going to be a little long one. This is the last slide, and then I'll get into your questions and stuff like that. So please start shooting your questions, comments, thoughts, anything that you have in mind. What's happening right now? Why isn't the government kind of cracking down? And a lot of us would like that. One thing I've realized in this kind of a game that the more longer rope that you give these guys, they kind of screw up themselves. Look at all the protests that have happened. They've just dragged out, left their legitimacy, and gone down the dump. And as I said in the beginning, this is a disease. We have to act on the disease, not the symptom. Cut off the financials. It's been said multiple times on my platform that Pakistan was able to sponsor a lot of these stone peltings and stuff like that within Punjab, Kashmir, because of the fake note factories that were there. The minute the demonetization happened, all the stone pelting went. So the crackdown really needs to happen in a different way. You have to go at the back end and break them. Cracking down on the front guys is like, you're catching the drug peddlers on the street, not the guy who actually distributes it. You need the big fish. You don't need these little punks that are roaming around. And the big fish becomes very difficult to catch because the big fish is spread in three, four different countries. And those three, four different countries have their own political games. So we gotta deal with our own politics. We gotta deal with Pakistan, and you gotta deal with UK and Canada and Australia and this and that and the other. Yeah, no country is that powerful that you can influence everybody. But work is still happening. So this game has to be played with a lot of tact and a lot of patience. You can't crack down. It'll give you nothing because you take this guy out, some other chap will stand up. And when you take out someone like that, you're going to make him a martyr and creates a whole lot of bloody another story. You don't want that. You want the problem to be handled, resolved. People to be spoke. They are people. They're Indians as much as I am, or more than I am even. So no, we can't go tuck, tuck, tuck. No. There has to be a well thought out solution. And I think there is something in play right now. We'll have to see. Wait and watch. The people resolved it once, the people must resolve it again. And we, as Indians, must support them. Fight the narrative with them. I see on Twitter so many people who say, we don't want this nonsense. We don't want this nonsense. Support them, support their voices. We have two, three voices here who've come up and said, I stay in Punjab, nothing. Support their voices. We as a country needs to resolve. It's the people of India. You can keep blaming the government, this government, that. This government did this government did that. What have we done? We do fastest finger first. We keep putting out these things and say, oh, this is what happened, this is what happened. When some other thing happens, in the sense when some counter happens, how many of us actually retweet that? We don't. Because our mindset is become critical. Let's not do that because we are playing into the narrative. And I say this again and again and again and again. Today's wars are going to be kinetic, yes. But the biggest war will be fought by you and me in our heads. Historically, we need to correct ourselves. There's so many guys today talking about history. I wish somebody just compiles it and writes the right history of India. And especially the region of North India where the history books have been pretty much destroyed by so many invasions that have happened. Again, no blame to this or that and the other. It's part of our history. It's a fact. Let's understand that. We need to work towards correcting that thing. We can blame this guy, blame that guy, and that's what I see all the time. Oh, that guy came here, he did this, he that. Are bhai, oh yeah, what are we doing to correct it? We have to sit down and do it. We can't expect some guy from outside again to come and do it for us. Read, debate, write. Those of us who know a little bit about it, write about it. It gets recorded somewhere. Again, the internal narrative is what I'm talking about. We can't be this fastest finger first family all the time. We have to trust, we have to verify what the hell is happening. And I'm saying this with a little aggression because I see so much nonsense online which has just been retweeted without thinking, just to hurt the current leadership politically. Now, I'm not talking about pro this leadership or against this leadership. I'm just talking about when you do that, you're also hurting India. अमित साहब, आप पूछ रहे हो डिबेट किससे करें? सर, डिबेट आपस में करना है हमको। पहले अपना नैरेटिव तो खत्म करें सर। इसमें से कुछ चीज तो होंगी जो आज मैंने 1 घंटे बात करी है, उसमें से कुछ चीजें तो होंगी जो नहीं पता चली होंगी लोगों को। ज्यादा लोगों को बताते हैं सर। एंड लेट्स टॉक अबाउट दिस। There are people as much as Northeast or anybody else. It's a war, guys. This is a war. It's not a war with no. It's a war in our heads. It's not a joke. And I'm very, very, this thing about it is that the battle is always the narrative. Live example, the Russians took up a city yesterday. No Western newspaper says they've taken it up. Oh, nahi, 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 yaar, wahan to jhagda ho raha hai abhi bhi. One newspaper said, वो तो फैली था, this city was with the Russians before only, what have they taken it for? That's how you fight a narrative war. You take a control and just push it out, and that's what these guys are doing. They've got Imran Khan's or ISI cyber army helping them out. Yeah, a lot of us will ask, we will, where is our cyber army? Why does our government build it up? Ask them. But let's play our part. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a little bit. It's something that I've read quite a bit about. I have spent almost 2 months collating the information that I have today. I mean, there's a lot more that I wanted to put across, but I didn't think that an hour and a half or two episode will be worthwhile. And I didn't want to break it because the entire thought process breaks. So thanks so much for listening to me. I will go through your comments, your thoughts. Uh, let's see what you guys have to say. Thank you, Mr. CS, for the super sticker. Thank you so much, and I hope you've enjoyed. Oh, you say the show is going so well. I can clearly see it going long and very long ahead. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Please spread it across, give it to your friends. It's not something which is groundbreaking or news breaking, so a lot of people might not be interested in it at the moment. But I hope I've been able to give some value to all of you guys. सर जी, ठीक कर दिया आपका खालिस्तान का शो सर, खुश हो गए? He's been asking me for this particular show for a while, and I think I've done it for you. Punjab, your story of 1947, 80s, 90s militancy. I didn't get that, but thank you so much for your contribution. Let's start with your comments from top to bottom. Okay, there's a little bit of a discussion about the background. Guys, I just want to be a little comfortable, and I don't want to, you know, this is a little easier. Where I sit is a little more comfortable for me because I got to do this every day. Remember, sitting in one place, still straight and talking and being concentrative. So I just want to be comfortable. This is a little space that I have in my room, so I sit around and do it. Thanks for taking the issue. As a Punjabi, I expect you to do a lot more shows in Punjab also, since you have the courage to speak out publicly, even some shows in Punjabi and Hindi. Sarji, ki kar rahe ho tusi? Thank you so much. Uh, One second. Let's. Pakistani Punjabis and our Sardarjis are having any sponsorship program? I don't get what you're saying, sir. I'm going to take this comment up. Aadi bhai, good evening, and thank you so much, man. I hope you enjoyed the show and got something out of it. Most affected people from the partition were Sindhis and Punjabis. Well, Sindhis, Punjabis, Kashmiris, a whole lot of people got affected, and everybody went through a rut, and nobody went more than the other or less than the other. So that's. Ranjit Singh's kingdom includes Lahore, goes up to Kabul. I suppose there is no demand for taking Lahore there. Sir, if they do, they'll get booted out of Pakistan. It was String Reveals who exposed his toolkits and things. Yes, absolutely, he did. Get prepared for something big. Khalistanis are trying to block Chandigarh entry routes as they did in Delhi. They're asking for release of 6 radical prisoners. Chandigarh is the UT at this time. I see big action. Ma- this will happen, and the problem with this thing is that these guys are being used politically to catch a brownie point here and there. Some guy who's not in power would want to do it to the other, and all this, or some guy in power is trying to create his own importance. We can keep to kingdom come talking about who did what, but the problem is these are things that are being used, and we as citizens need to say stop. We will not allow this anymore, and that stop can only come when we vote largely, vote wisely. I won't tell you whom. Think for yourself, think for the country, and vote. Create a voice, demand. Then it's possible. And I'm not saying protest and block highways and this. I don't believe in that. I believe in a protest, but not blocking highways. Part of Punjab I live in, I see no Khalistan movement on the ground. People are against this. Salute. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. There is nothing. Lawrence Bishnoi is there to take care of these Khalistani dogs. We are also here, madam. Sir, Bhaijan, Bhai Logo, Bhai Behno, we are also here. We need to fight as a country. There's no question about it. It's in your innocence to think Jetidar did not know. I can't get into his head, sir. He knew, he didn't. The fact is that this is what came out. We can have fight these people personally, won't get us much. What we need to fight again is the narrative. I'm sorry, many Sikh YouTubers show the picture of the bomb, their visit to Kartarpur saying भारत दी फौज ने बम मारिया सी. हाँ, ठीक है. But nobody believes it. हाँ ठीक है, ये बम मारिया सी. देखो यार क्या होता है, there is a lot of things which are done on YouTube for views, clickbaits. Again, building the narrative, right? Okay, crackdown cannot be expected as the government is too top heavy and cannot concentrate on too many things at once. I don't think the crackdown is required. You need to play this differently. Plus the Indian government consistently has shown its inability to handle issues systematically. That's your opinion. I respect that. I have a different one. बुद्ध का ज्ञान बिल्कुल वैसा ही है जो था, जो 76 साल से आरक्षण की भलाई खा रहा था, वो खा रहा खाकर दो अच्छा निपुण पढ़ाइयाँ में भेज रहे थे आप, समाज के पेट पाल रहे थे भरकर, और गरीब पंडितों और पुजारियों की गाली देकर अपनी रोजी रोटी चला रहे थे. सर ऐसा है, देखिए ये तो पॉलिटिक्स है. बहुत जगह पॉलिटिक्स होगा, बहुत जगह होगा सर, बट इसमें द प्रॉब्लम इज वी बाय दैट पॉलिटिक्स. वी एज सिटीजंस नीड टू रिजेक्ट इट. हमको बड़ा मजा आता है जब ये सब चीजें होती हैं, एक पार्टी या दूसरी, जो मर्जी हो. आज दुनिया में अगर आपका नाम आगे है इज बिकॉज आपके देश में स्टेबिलिटी है. जो ये पार्स आपके साथ कर रही हैं वो आपका स्टेबिलिटी हटाने को कर रही हैं, और कुछ नहीं है. आपका जो ठहर है उसको हटाने को कर रही हैं कि यार ये लोग तो ठहरे हुए लोग हैं, क्या हो गया इनको, इनको जरा खड़ा करो वापस से. दैट्स व्हाट दे आर डूइंग, और कुछ नहीं कर रहे वो लोग. और हम लोग इसमें फंसते हैं हमेशा. कल उन्होंने शाहीन बाग में किया था, आज वो यहां करेंगे, कहीं कल कहीं और करेंगे. यार उनको तो अपॉर्चुनिटी चाहिए साहब. वो आपके मेरे साथ करेंगे कल को, भाई आप तो कहाँ के हो, आप कहाँ के हो, और करो झगड़ा. यही करते रहेंगे हम लोग, और कुछ नहीं है. दैट इज व्हाट द होल थिंग इज. अब बहुत सारे कैरेक्टर्स हैं इंडिया में जिनका यूज होता है, उसका कोई शक नहीं है, एंड उनको मैं बोलता हूँ यूजफुल इडियट्स. दैट्स इट. There is a rumor we will have corrected history book in curriculum by 23 January. Sir, I'd be the first one to read it. People are doing in small numbers, need to make it bigger and louder, stronger. Your view on it? People are doing what, sir? I think you're talking about fighting the narrative. Yes, it needs to be larger. And that's the whole game of Dev Talks. I want to fight the narrative. That's why I've not gotten into politics. I don't talk about politics at all because that's where we get stuck. When we are fighting a geopolitical game, it cannot be internal politics. There's a larger narrative that we fight rather than getting into who did what inside. Because that's what our enemies want. They want us to look inside all the time so that we don't have time to look outside. सारा दिन आप इंडिया में यही करते रहो, उसने ये बोला, उसने वो बोला, वो यहाँ कर रहा है, वो ये कर रहा है, भाई बाहर की कब सोचोगे? And that is the game which we are trying to change today. बॉलीवुड के बड़े सिगरेट, दारू, बियर, गुटखा, खैनी, ड्रग्स, गांजा, चरस का प्रचार करके हमारे युवकों को जिस तरह गंजेड़ी बनाने में के अलावा कोई दूसरा काम नहीं किया। अब देखो सर, ऐसा है, आप जो बिकता था हम भी देखते थे, ठीक है? तो हमको तो थोड़ा अभी लेट समझ में आ रहा है ना क्या हो रहा है हमारे साथ। तो गेम जो हमको है अभी थोड़ा टाइम पहले ही पता चला है, अब लड़ते हैं उसके अगेंस्ट में। India doesn't have a civilized narrative. The government is right wing with five different narratives competing for attention. Fair enough. I don't think so, but anyways, the narrative of India has to be built up in a way. And I somewhere I agree with you, but what I agree with you is the communication of that narrative. We have a narrative. We don't communicate it. The gap is within strategic communications, right? When we talk about, let's say, for example, I'll give you victories. When we talk about yoga, it spreads, it wins. We communicated it strategically. Won all across the world with all religions, with all religious countries. It won because we did it the right way. We sold it the right way. And that is what needs to be done. We have a flaw in strategic communication rather than strategic thought processes. We have strategic thoughts, we just don't know how to communicate them. And that's where we make mistakes. The drug menace in Punjab has to be dealt with. Absolutely. Absolutely. There is no question about it. You can't reason with a drug addict, sir. Reason to dusra hai, Satyam. You need to also remember that it's also destroying your power of analysis, power of thinking. It's very, very important. In my hometown in the North India, during every Aarti of Durga Puja, is the first ones are the majority local Sikhs. Sir, there has been no difference. It's been built up, and that's what is being propagated today. That's because we don't know history. I request all of you, please read about Guru Gobind Singh's two swords, Miri and Piri. You'll come to know a lot about what the game is. Right? Bhindranwale's free run from 1978 to 83 led to Punjab burning from 84 to 96. Amrit Pal is not stopped on time, Punjab will burn again. I agree with you. Absolutely. The point that you're making is a very important point. But how to break him is the question. There are two, three ways of doing it: crack him down, arrest him, this, that, create a huge tamasha within the state, have a something short of a riot, and calm it down, or break the backbone, break the source of money, cut the funding. The minute you cut the funding, you can't do anything with the money. Can't. Mohit, I agree with you. Puneet Saini is doing a fantastic job, and he covers a lot more of the history in a lot more depth than I covered today. I just ran you through a certain narrative. He talks about previous to that. He talks about the 10 gurus and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot that we need to learn about the history as well. Uh, Let me just say this, Guru Gobind Singh has had Panch Pyaras, the five people that he had chosen, and the whole ceremony is another story. One of them was from Karnataka, northern Karnataka, by the way. And that's the thing. Sikhism was a faith that went across India, right? So it's again the narrative which is not being told to us. Venki sir, nice to see you. The treatment of cleansing Khalistan problem is overseas, not inside India. That's the problem which our security apparatus has to be prepared for. I'm sure the work towards achieving that has begun. Exactly, sir. There have been a lot of action to cut the funding, cut the influence, cut the narrative. And that is most critical when we are talking about stuff like this. It's not easy dealing with a multinational organization. The previous one that you were dealing with in Kashmir was based in Pakistan. You could do surgical strikes. Now, what do you do? Surgical strikes in Canada? You can't. Because what they are doing is instigation. They're not providing weapons and this and that. They're providing the money and the instigation to do stuff. And that is something that we need to understand. And that's how it needs to be tackled with. It's a different problem than a guy picking up a stone or a grenade in Kashmir. It's a different game, and we need to understand it and play it accordingly. Now, of course, I don't have, no, not neither do you. We all don't have the complete picture. You Nulling PIO status is one of the steps. Yeah, absolutely, sir. I agree with you. None of us have the complete picture, as I was saying, as to what the complete intelligence is. What we see as inaction right now might be, when you are in this game, you're also sometimes letting guys be in the field so that you get more intelligence. Because the more they actually propagate, the more they need. When the more they need, they get more talkative with their sources. When you get that, you can crack them, cracking the entire problem itself. Think about it. That's how intelligence works. When you're doing counterintelligence, you normally, if you know this guy is a terrorist, you won't go hack him immediately. No, you let him be. You'll observe him. You'll see what he's trying to do. Who are his handlers? What is his money? What is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? If you just crack him out, you've lost the entire chain of command. I don't know if that is what is happening. This is just my guess. Right, guys, thank you so much. It's been a long episode with a sore throat. Sorry for all the coughs and stuff like that in the middle. I hope you guys got some value um, from what I said, from the research. If you guys want more details, I've got a lot more details uh, during my research and a lot of the books that I've read. It's been great actually reading this stuff because I've understood a lot more about this problem than I did before. And I hope you can come up to a point where I've lit up a certain fire amongst you guys where you would want to go and research yourselves about this entire game. Thank you so much. And before signing off, guys, like this video, subscribe, please share it with your friends, especially the people joining me from Punjab. Please share it with your friends. Um, Again, I am not about fighting the people, I am about fighting the narrative. And that is the most important thing. These are our countrymen as much as you and I are, and we need to understand how they're being influenced and stop it. Right? It is very critical that we understand it like that and take it in a very mature way rather than aggressive way, because aggression will give you nothing. As I said, you'll take out the bottom line, you'll not know who are the top end. Thanks so much once again, guys. Subscribe. Hit the like, all of you guys. Please hit the like button. I need to see a lot of likes. Uh, and yes, if you can, please do help out the Dev Talks efforts by sending us a super chat, super sticker, or you can directly contribute towards me on the UPI number mentioned below. Visit my website, thedevtalks.com, and I shall see you tomorrow with a very interesting show. I hope you guys have seen the show on the Chinese influence operations within India. If you haven't, please check it out. That's an eye opener, part one of a series of shows that is going to happen. Cheers and good night. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind.